Welcome back, folks, to the SFCLB stream of the SCS Esports Season 7 Open Qualifier number 2, day number 2. My name is Sticky. I'm joined here with Corbeck. Man, it has been a long time since you and I have done this one together.
Yeah, it certainly has, Tick. It's been a good long while, but it's an exciting one to come back for, right? Good old-fashioned SCS quals, two teams right on the bubble, right? So this is gonna be a tense matchup. I really have high hopes here.
Yeah, big chances you lose this one, you are out of here, so you want to get this one, be dialed in. Let's go ahead to our next graphic, talk about the other two coinciding streams that we got going on. Nerd Street R6 is covering another 4-3 takeover game. Didn't Ask versus Big Fans there, and the Super Stream has got 6 Karma versus Reality TV. Both of those rosters near the top of the leaderboard. Not a game you will want to miss. 6 Karma, a team coming out of Mexico who has really shaken up a lot of people's expectations lately, and of course Reality TV, the reigning Challenger League, season champion. So there's a lot riding on that one. Make sure you visit those other two streams. I think we got a multi-stream somewhere that you can open up, watch all three, be kind of some crazy technological wizard, get all the streams up at once, some kind of siege entrepreneur there. But either way, this one, as we mentioned, Okami, a roster that has gone through a lot of different interpretations, and it's kind of more of a name, an idea than, a team set in stone, up against one of our great T3 commodities, Homeland.
Right. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to see Homeland play recently, and they were good. I can't actually remember what the outcome of that match was, but they've got a good spirit to them, and they play well together as a unit. They know their business, and I know that they've got plenty of fans here in the sort of T3 scene. So, like you said, though, Okami, storied name, Stick, right? Like everybody's heard of it. Like you said, more of an idea perhaps than a specific roster, but that is still often the way down here in T3. And both of these teams, I think, are teams that definitely deserve a chance to be in SCS. Like, they both would be worthy competitors. So it behooves one of them at least to take that mantle here tonight.
Yeah, on the Okami side there, I'm not too familiar with the players Nino and Empty. I have heard of Stern. Sternals has been on a lot of different rosters back in the day. Benji has been in Challenger League when he was on the original Okami roster all those days back then. And this Quinner guy, I only vaguely remember him because he was in the Canadian Challenger League when that was a thing, and I believe he played for the roster of Depth Esports, if that does serve me right on the memories. So he might have been on some other teams that I'm just not quite aware of there. And Homeland have got the stock standard roster with a little bit of an update here. Zez is their newest arrival, coming back to a roster that has really seen a lot of success, although is in a bit of a lull period that we got here lately. Let's move to the map veto and see where we're headed tonight. I'm hoping we get something a little unique here, Corbeck.
Yeah, there's been a lot of villas, so I think that people behind the scenes here are happy to see that one get banned early on. I mean, the big three, Villa, Clubhouse, Oregon, they get banned very early, so they're going to go somewhere off meta, and it will be Border, which is actually pretty good for a best of one. I saw a Border match last week in Quals, very entertaining. It can be a very interesting map.
An interesting little tidbit here. Homeland is a great Border team. They played a lot. They won one of their maps in the Xenon Gaming Series Season 3 Finals. I believe it was Border they opened up that series with, if Wikipedia is telling me correctly. So kind of an interesting one there. Very explosive team. I think they're going to do well here on Border, but Okami being, more of an unknown commodity, they don't really have any players on their team that I would look at and say, huge gunner, this is like your craziest player coming off the block. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to choose to start defense on this one.
Yeah, you're very true there. And I mean, Border is one of those maps that I do feel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Stick, but I do feel it is a little in flux between the attacking and the defending. I mean, when I think of Border, at least from my perspective, defensive site number 1, the primary bomb site, Armory Lockers, that one's a little bit like archive lockers, I guess you should say, but it's one you can hold down defensively. The others, though, I mean, there's a lot of verticality at play. There's a lot of horizontal action at play as well. It can be really a bit challenging to play correctly on the defense. And I mean, there's an advantage here for Homeland, I think, and they have the less new players in the sense that their rosters is a little bit more set. These guys have played together. They were in SFCL playoffs, right, where they played Aerial Rise Academy. Didn't go well for them, but does it ever for anybody playing Aerial Rise Academy, but they know each other is what I'm getting at. And I think that'll be an advantage here. The core of the Okami lineup, like you said, a couple of names we don't necessarily realize, but hey, they've gone 4-3 today, right? So respect where respect is due. They're players out here in this quals, and they deserve their spot.
All right, well, it is no secret. I kind of came into SCS here for the qualifiers kind of at the last minute, so I'm going to drop the open calls page so far and see what the standings are looking like in some of the recent results that mainly Homeland have ran into. They got stumped by Reality TV 5-7. I mean, quarterback, I think that's a pretty respectable result to get all 12 rounds of regulation. Mystic Academy was another one of their losses, 4-7, and the score's not updated here, but I'm going to assume their third loss was against their recent matchup last round versus S2 Esports, which is another one of those teams where I'm like, yeah, they're going to do well on that one. S2 are a very storied roster. They got a lot of talent on that one. They took victories over Riz Academy, who I've heard lots of talk about. 75ers. No, I do. That is X13. Their roster is totally bizarre to me. And what's that one? Byakko? Byakko isn't like an enemy thing? I don't know what that means.
They got a white tiger. Byakko is a white tiger god thing. Yeah, no, I've seen Byakko play recently as well. So that's not the most sterling roster of competitors to have beaten necessarily, but they beat them. I mean, you know, W is a W at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
Byakko's good. That's a good win. Byakko is a good team.
It's kind of a tough one, you know, to fight through this qualifier with just the level of talent that we've got. I think one surprise team that has performed, you know, a little bit better than expectations is the Collegiate Connoisseurs. Let's see if I can snatch up their roster.
What a name.
I know Zosa is on that roster, and it's kind of an interesting story that Zosa has got going on because he's from South Africa, and he transferred over to the University of Akron. He actually flew over from South Africa to play for Akron, and he's been doing really well. I had actually even heard of him when he was playing in the South African scene, which really, I mean, you don't get that for a lot of players. So trying to figure out who else he's got with him. It's probably, you know, some of your standard collegiate boys that are down there and going on.
Collegiate Connoisseurs, you gotta love it. It's a great name, and yeah, it's always good to see those collegiate players getting out here and they're showing their stuff as well and showing that they can hang. So always a lot of fun there, I must say, to see them in action.
Looks like he has been playing with RNO and Dyson, who are two players. Oh, and Mustard. Mustard is there too. Those three come from the Ohio State University. Spaz is there as well. What team does Spaz play for? I can't remember what school he goes to. It's
you would know.
It's a Texas team, I think. I think it's UTSA. I'm pretty sure. I'm on Twitter right now. Hold on here.
Yeah, a lot of schools in Texas. That's the downside.
There's a lot of them. Either way, can't find that one out immediately from the jump. But they've done pretty well for themselves. 5-1 right now, sitting atop the winners pool there. So good luck for them. And either way, we finally got the border ready. So we're gonna go ahead and jump on here and stop talking about nothing.
We're not talking about nothing. We're talking about quals and teams, and I mean, it sounded good. We were rolling there. That's what really matters. But Nook getting banned off the board, Osa getting taken out as well. No big surprises there. The Danish Demon is pretty much the favorite band of everyone and their mother these days, so wouldn't be surprised to see her go. And on the defensive side, I mean, you got your Miras, you got your Valkyries, you got your Azamis. I was just going to say it, and she got taken out, and that is a very solid ban. Azami is a incredibly influential operator, and I think well deserves her place. Where, I mean, she's really starting to overtake, I would say, Mira's stick as kind of like the tertiary or the secondary ban that you always see on the defensive side. Here, though, Mira will go. So, I mean, that's going to leave the Valk on the board. Again, another very powerful operator. You can get value out of her on the border side. So, wouldn't be surprised if we saw her get a little bit of play here.
So far, I'm not really too shocked by any of these ones. Osa, I'm not sure if you've heard. I've heard some leaks coming down the pipeline. Osa's going to be a 1-speed operator in the new patch. So
wow,
I don't know how that one is going to work. I guess, you know, she is kind of a shield operator. So to make her a 1-speed, it does kind of hit you right in that same area. The Nook ban as well there. Nothing really to scream about. I like Valkyrie being up. You know, when she's gone, I feel like generally you get a little bit more kind of craziness going on. With so many soft floors, though, up for border here, you can get some good stuff going with some C4s prepped, you know, if you're trying to maybe stop somebody over by the C4, by the CCTV side. And Looks like the central servers are not doing well, so could be a rehost in the pipeline.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to stave that off. I mean, not too much particularly shocking here about either of these defensive lineups. I mean, you see, you got your Smoke and your Mute, the SAS bros over there on the defense, making their presence known. The Aruni here in favor of maybe Wamai or something like that. And then, of course, you have the Jaeger Hawk in there as well. Interesting to see a Flores and a Yang being brought out here for the Armory take. To me, that maybe speaks of either you trying to come in through the wall straight to Armory, or you're going to go around and try and hit the wall leading over to Archives. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to play this, but with the way the border is restructured, it's much easier to get sort of horizontal pressure onto this bomb site. And already the Rentero gets taken out right there by the Mute Jammer. Just a little I don't know what the plan was there, Stick, but it was unwise. Let's just put it at that, to try and roll one of those out with having a good idea of where the Mute coverage is. And Ampty making him pay early on, takes down Zex, and that is the Rotero's done and dusted, so they will get no value out of that Flores.
It's going to be a hard one to come up against, especially with so many, Aruni gadgets. You got 2 deployables as well. Losing him might hurt. Do get a little bit of a trade back there. Stern had been quite active from the break room position. He is forced out, and another nice little snatch and grab there by the Iana from the top of the stairs. She'll look to put a grenade down range as the bodies continue to drop here. 3 versus 3 still, though.
It remains pretty tight. 2 minutes left in the round. Snipey very low on health, so the Ash has to be incredibly careful. That said, Snipey getting a little bit of traction there heading into CCTV. Ampty now swinging around the corner. Snipey will find the kill. Gets caught on the bulletproof camera, and Quinner throwing down an ADS here at the late stage. Benji taking a massive amount of damage here to start as Raki throws another frag in there and steps forward into the pit. Got to be very careful here. Has eyes on the Jaeger. Quinner brought down. And a very aggressive round win there for Homeland. No time wasted. They got it in and got it done.
Homeland really just making sure they were able to stay composed, really getting them a lot of traction there towards the end, and not really getting too confused amidst the situation. I did want to mention, Homeland looked to have a substitute as well. They're Raki coming in. I have not heard about this player before. I'm not sure if you've heard about them. I almost wonder if this is... There's a player in T3 right now, or T4 maybe even, called Rack. It's like a raccoon guy. I don't know if this is the same person, but the name at least does seem a little bit similar.
I'm struggling because I know that I've commentated them before, and I recently, and at that time, Raki was playing for them. I don't think it's a raccoon person you're thinking of. I think they are an individual player, but I have seen them in action, and they were a very commendable player. They fit well in their role, and I know that they've been playing with this squad through the quals, I think both weeks that they've done it. Xenon Finals, that's where I saw him. I could not remember where I had seen this Homeland roster for, but yeah, it's Raki. And it's interesting that they made that switch to their lineup from what we have listed, but it's not necessarily surprising to me.
Yeah, probably just a substitute type situation. I did double check on the R6 tab there. It is a totally different player. Not the raccoon guy that I have seen on Twitter every now and then. Either way.
Freaking no, man. That's Rocky Raccoon. It's Rocky Raccoon. That's another one. Too many R names.
Well, I saw this raccoon guy, and he was like in an interview one time, and he was... Hold that thought. We could have a little bit of a rush coming in here. Looks like the offense looking for an early quick send. Stern is there with the DMR, but he gets his head taken off right in response. Rival looking to push right up the gut, but he gets eliminated by Ampty. Bit of pressure coming from the HVAC balcony, but so far, this Homeland attack is not looking the best without some kind of reaction here.
I'm so shocked, Stick, that they honestly didn't cut off or check that crossfire. Like, they just left Stern unchecked, firing the cross. And if Stern had been a little bit faster and hit their shots, that would have basically killed that whole attack dead. I mean, it kind of has regardless, because it's a 4v3. The surprise is spoiled. It's that. That's Smoke right there. Smoke getting protected by Smoke in that instance. Good kill from Floofsap coming around. Floof's coming in one more time, trying to play on the backside of the bomb chassis, but it's Snipey getting into work as the guns of Homeland begin to heat up here. Instead, Floof's, though, caught looking from another angle. A bunch of little rat holes here on the top floor. They're ducking in and out of, but it's Snipey who finishes it off. And Homeland, I'll be honest, again, Stick, kind of on the back of their gun skill, winning out a round.
Yeah, another so far, just the story of the end of these rounds, utter chaos, and whichever team
Yep.
wins the game of timing has just got it right there. So unlucky for the Ying, was waiting there, was watching for the rotate, and then she turns her attention back to lockers, and bam, that's right when the Jaeger hits the rotate and he gets in. Homeland so far leading this one, and, you know, you would think this is a closer game. It feels like Okami have kind of got some of the leverage in the mid-round, but just maybe a kind of a couple errors and miscommunication. I mean, for that player in Archives to just drop the hatch and, you know, just gotta hit the escape valve there. I get the idea. It didn't seem like the rest of the team was, you know, quite ready to recover from that, though.
No, and it's that chaos really does seem to favor Homeland. I mean, I don't have enough tape of Okami really, you know, make a judgment, but I do think that Homeland is hitting better shots. They're hitting more of their shots. And when you get into chaotic situations like that at the end of rounds, right, usually the people who come out on top are the people who gun better, right? Chaos is a ladder. Let's, you know, I'm not going to bandy it around. Sometimes you can get a good advantage out of a chaotic setup like that. But I think a lot of the time, faster reflexes, more practice, whatever you want to call it, it just sort of takes over in those anarchy situations. And I think that's what essentially has happened the last couple of rounds. Okami is doing well when their defense feels structured. And then the minute that Homeland Esports kind of shatters that structure and we're just in free-for-all territory, Okami loses out.
Yeah, I just feel like it's been kind of the consistency. Homeland been able to react a lot better. Here's Raki with the leadoff kill. Stern has found himself at the bad end of that one so far, suffering either death or glory and the start of things here. Nino looking to take a bit of opposition to this player out towards detention, but the cutoff there, Raki just decided to run in and gun him down. Advantage to Homeland. They're up by 2.
They're getting absolutely eaten alive here. Raki picking up another kill. Finally, Ampty striking a blow for the Okami side, but it's short-lived. Quinter gets caught and brought down almost immediately. Ampty from the high ground can't get anything done, and Homeland just mauls this Okami side.
Decisive so far. Homeland looking like they are exactly dialed in, know what they want to do. They're ready for Border, and it's hard to say this isn't what I was expecting. Homeland are so drilled on Border. It's a map that they choose to be comfortable on, and I think it does sit outside the pool of a lot of other rosters, because when you look at this one, it's like Border, you know, you could have 100 different strats for every different site, but it's hard to really be prepared for this one if you can't adapt in the immediate moment. I think Homeland have been entirely on top of that one. It almost feels hard to follow. Just the quick strike ability, Homeland have been in there. Just at any given moment, you know, can't discount as well. Raki just stepping in towards that custom side, opening it up with the triple kill. There was no option for Okami to even respond.
No, there really wasn't. I think that's kind of the most telling aspect of this. Like, the penetration coming out of the Homeland side is so good, right? Like, they're just in, and suddenly Okami, their whole defensive plan has just been thrown completely off the rails because one or two members of Homeland Esports is just in. And let's not get over the fact too that pretty much on the early starts, Homeland Esports is having the better of most of those clashes in the early round. I think that first round we saw Zez go down early. That was the only one that really stuck out in my mind. The other two times, Homeland Esports has just found roamers and brought them down and really isolated and shut them off. And wow, that is no good. I'm assuming Stern was on a peak right there. I'm assuming. I'm not going to castigate him for peaking when they're 3 down. But yeah, that's no good. Homeland gonna just get so much momentum off of kills like that.
And you know, it brings me back to this idea that I brought up earlier. When I look at the Okami roster, I don't see any player that I can individually kind of take out of this one as some kind of super, you know, entry player.
Yeah.
There's no Ashen. There's no, you know, that player who just gets in and makes the difference happen. And I think it has caused some major drama for Okami so far. Not only that, but also Stern just wants to get into these fights. He's taken them, but every single time he's just found himself on the bad end of that one. And great reaction shot from Quinter there, but is it going to be enough? He does end up trading with Snipey. Ultimately, though, it's still a 3 versus 3, and you have a feeling like Homeland might just explode onto the site.
I don't know. Empty trying to battle it back here. We'll take Rival down, so that leaves a very low health Flutes and Zez here. They're still alive and in it. hiding there, doesn't know. I think maybe has an idea. Oh, misses the opening. What a golden window for Ampty not to be able to hit the shot, and they will get the down and they will get the finish right there. So Ampty saving the bacon just a little bit. Nino swinging out as well, and okay, there's a round win for Okami. A little bit rough around the edges, but a well-deserved you are terrible right back in the chat to keep it fresh. You gotta love it.
Well, I think so far positive note for Ampty and Quinner, who feel like they have been able to kind of promote themselves just when the rest of the squad can get together and really have some impact. You know, citing Nino there for the cleanup on that final kill. That's got to be the win condition for Okami. Being able to contain Homeland, shut down, you know, the plays where they're just feeling like, you know, 60, 80 seconds have passed and they're just going to get in. I think probably time to take Stern out of the early fight. Let Quinner or Ampty get involved there because Stern so far has just been kind of running himself a little ragged.
Yeah, that's very true. And I don't necessarily think that Stern is, you know, he's just not getting the better of those early encounters, so he's got to play a little bit differently. And I think maybe the swap to the Pulse is indicative of that, right? Like a Pulse is a much more, I would argue, contained operator. He has a very distinct role to play, and that role is not necessarily spawn peeking at the start of the round, right? That's not what you want to do. I mean, if any of these operators are going to spawn peek at the start of the round, you want your Jaeger maybe, or your Rooney, who have already got all their util down, and therefore, well, in this case, Quinter's still got one to go. But you get my point, Stick. I mean, those are the guys who are expendable, right? You don't want to throw them out early, and did it with Malusi last round. Hey, expendable, right? But in this case, the Pulse has to stay alive, or you're losing so much intel value alone.
Yeah, I mean, in some respects, you want to send somebody out for that spawn kill that's got nothing to lose. And I think that probably is one of those players that already got util down. Sort of an early play from Stern, looking for intel outside of jail. He gets forced back. Has been so far Homeland prioritizing the horizontal pressure. They're not really looking to deal with what's going on for the top floor. Makes the most sense. A lot of utility developed up there. That's Okami's kind of proving grounds. They want you to go up there, and Nino looking for an early gunfight. He's been sent out to the foreground to try to take something away, and it's Stern to snap his sort of cold period as he gets rid of that star entry player of Snipey.
That's a good kill right there. Big gun taken off the board. Zex, though, I mean, they're right back in, and they'll trade it out. And, you know, I was wondering, actually, so you might know the answer to this, because I don't know. Iana Gemini does not show up on Pulse's meter, right?
No, it definitely doesn't.
Okay, that's what I thought. I don't know why I never ever seen that interaction before. Look at that. Floose here stepping up to the window now, looking for a kill, but it's actually Benji who strikes first. But the trades, they just keep it even here, staying right back and forth with one another. There's no letting up here from the Homeland side, and that is a big Candela that drops in. Benji's going to try and step up to challenge that. Swaps over to the SMG-11 to try and put the final kibosh here on the Homeland attack.
Homeland just so far have really had a strong ability to fight themselves back in a kind of an even sort of position, but they've had a little bit of an obstacle here. Looking like Okami are sending Quinner out. He just ran right into the midst of things, taking nearly half of his HP by his own teammate's gadget, and now I believe both those defenders totally white. It doesn't matter for Benji, though. Still able to strike one with the shotgun. Quinner's got the lockdown against Zez, and Rival just barely spots the leg in there for the confirm, but Quinner stands tall. Okami got two in a row.
Ooh, that was a little spicy there at the end, I will say, for Okami. I mean, you talked about, you know, Quinner running out into the smoke. Why are you doing that? Don't know. But they did manage to wrench it back around at the end. Finally, I guess Chaos paid off a little bit on the side of Okami, though I will say with a hefty dose of luck in there. I don't know how Benji hit that shotgun blast when they were whited out, but that's kind of a guided by the force moment right there. That's more luck, I think, than skill. No, not to detract. And you saw that confusion, and I do wonder if that maybe implies that Okami does have some IGL or some communication difficulties in those later round scenarios. It would certainly gel with kind of what we've seen, and not every IGL is particularly great, you know, at adapting to really kind of chaotic situations like that. So one does have to wonder just a little bit, but if Okami can pull a win off in round 6, I think they will have salvaged themselves pretty bigly here, Stick, from what was looking to be a rather unflattering disaster that they were staring down the barrel of.
Yeah, that's never the spot you want to find yourself at, especially in one of these sort of do-or-die type games, because again, if you lose this matchup, you are eliminated unless you somehow have some great mystical power that you can woo Ferme into inviting you. Of course, you still have, I believe, 2 or 3 remaining teams to be invited. I'm going to let you on the inside track. It's not either one of these 2 rosters, so go out there and get it. But I wanted to take your point in a bit of a different direction. I really liked Okami kind of running up in the gut there at the end of the round. It felt very needed them to get aggressive. They found their stride, and they did it well. Homeland have been put off balance, I think, by that new sort of Okami posture a little bit.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, that's a valid point in and of itself. Okami have been definitely the more reactive of the 2 sides, so them being a little proactive in that situation, I think, was plenty beneficial for them, even if it did involve a little bit of an awkward moment. Nino gonna go ahead and wipe out the Gemini right there. Didn't necessarily give up their position, but they gave up the general area in which they are hiding, and that's going to cause Raki to pause, justifiably so, to try and figure out what awaits them, and they will take Nino down almost immediately, but it has been the case for the last couple of rounds. The kills are traded back faster. Furious there. No real hesitation on either side to level things back up as Ampty peeks over the top and finds Snipey and keeps it even.
Really just drilling down on the Ash there. Floof looking for another. He does get it. That was a long shot. Maybe not even the intended target there. Still gets it done. Homeland able to drag 2 bodies back, leaving Benji in a clutch position. See if the Challenger League experience will show to the light. Good game sense on the call to back up. Here's the Replicator step in there. And so Benji takes to the open ground, but really you gotta isolate these targets. You're not gonna win 3 separate gun duels. He can't even get the first. Floof able to really mount up there. Okami losing out. Homeland will seal the half, 4-2.
It was a bit of a rough situation for Benji, honestly. He was keeping his, some of you might have been watching that and wondering why he was keeping his crosshair not pointed at the double doors in front of him. Is because I think he had a pretty good idea that somebody was slipping around his right-hand side as well. So he's trying to keep his crosshairs in a neutral position so he could potentially swing either side depending on who came out. But, I mean, that's a really hard challenge. It doesn't matter how good your reflexes are, right? Unless you're, you know, Bruce Lee level, I don't think you're going to necessarily pull that one off. So a 7-10 split would probably be the best way to describe that, like bowling, but no good will come of it. Okami 2-4 stick. I mean, to be fair, they were staring down the barrel of what looked to be a 0-6 there for a while, so getting out of it with 2 is good enough. I'm very, very curious to see what they look like on the attack, because they may just be one of those teams that's good at attacking, and you do see that, right? And I think Homeland maybe kind of falls into that category, so we'll give Okami their shake, but I will say, if they come out here and just get absolutely wrecked on this attacking half, there will be doubts, let's just put it at that, in my mind, about their ability to even turn this into a tie.
Interesting choice, the mute jammer for the jail wall, but no reinforcements.
I saw that.
Not exactly sure what that, maybe it's some kind of spawn kill attempt. I have no idea. Snipey is looking for the early fight, and he nearly had the buck. Benji just beyond the crosshair of the AUG. And one thing I would like to point out here for Homeland, you know, we were really talking about them as the team that felt like they had the structure and the story of this game under their grasp firmly. I feel like that's certainly got to be something that's going to transfer here over to the defense. If they knew where to get in on the attack and find those weak spots, open up those chinks in the armor, I feel like that's going to go just as well for them now that they're on the defense.
Yeah, I think that that's something that they, you know, they've got obviously a little bit more time, probably a little bit more information game that they can play off of. I mean, look at what Snipey's doing right here. It's a long sight line. That said, though, Ampty strikes first, gives Zex the old Viking crew cut to get things started. Ampty going to drop and prep a frag grenade in there as well. It's actually a really good throw. Unfortunately, Forewarned was forearmed there, and I think Rival was already well out of dodge by that time. The loss of the alibi, not the worst thing. The recoverable, what a jump out there from Snipey. That's just an ego move if I ever saw one. Caught him on the reload and just drove it home, and now Ampty has to be very careful. This is incredibly dangerous position for the Iana. Just so many sight lines. At least they have backup.
Stern has caught himself in a lot of ugly positions so far in this game, and he does not get made to look too great there on a great snatch pickup by Snipey. Still, though, Okami looking to get in, and I think they've got themselves a solid foothold. Always a bit of a challenging one to attack down below onto this bathroom site, because in the meanwhile, Floof has picked up that big star player that we have been watching. The new addition here, Ampty, kind of an underdog player that doesn't have much of a story built for himself, is trying to make one today, but the rest of Homeland looking to put that tail to bed.
Yeah, Ampty has been playing very well on the defense and on the entry. And unfortunately, like you said, won't be any more of a factor here in round 7, but I think they could come out swinging again on the next round 2, and they should be the major threat. Snipey gets Benji, just absolutely catches him looking right there. Nothing to be done for it. Nino now trying to rotate around and put some shots down range, but it's all in vain, just giving away their position. Quinner stepping up onto the deck as Snipey finds Nino, and Snipey is going off here in round 7, having a great time. Raki, though, will be the one who steps up to finish it and bring it down, and Okami getting a little roughed up there on attack round number 1.
Great little final kill cam there for Raki as he just picked up the target through the wall. Tactical timeout will go by Okami. They had their moment in the sun. They got their 2 rounds back, but Homeland responding with a deuce of their own. The streak back seems to be in the arms here of Homeland, as they are feeling like this one is going to be pretty well and done. Get the night over with, maybe even just before the 12 o'clock period. But Homeland still have some work left to do after the Okami timeout. We'll see if the blue team has got themselves back under control for the remaining rounds here on offense.
I mean, it would have to be a heck of a timeout from Okami there, Stick. It's not looking like they're the team that's going to come out on top of this. And again, I don't mean to disparage them, but I think it's just genuinely the truth. They look a little overwhelmed, right, by what's happening from Homeland. They're back to a situation, too, where they're not winning the gun battles, right? Like, they're just straight up not winning. They're not hitting their shots. And at the end of the day, like everybody will tell you, Rainbow Six Siege is a shooter. It requires you to hit your targets, and if you can't hit your targets, you don't win. And they're losing the information game, they're losing the shooting game, and when you're pretty much losing everything, I mean, what can you really do, you know? I'm not going to rule them out completely, but I did say if they got a little humiliated in that round, I think my faith is pretty much dried up, so that's where I'm going to leave it, I think.
Yep. Hard to really blame you for dropping it off on that one. Armory Lockers, we will go next. Homeland and primarily Snipey. I think Snipey had those 2 rounds where he kind of got found out. Maybe it was Quinner, or even that one round where Stern got in there and got a little bit of some tar to throw back over to Snipey's side. But since then, Snipey has been back on speedy as a bullet, able to react and find those certain openings. Always been a big part of the way that Homeland have played with Snipey at the helm, and being ready to open those up, as well as the fact that, you know, that sort of mid-round jump out of the catwalk window, hard to account for that one if you're Okami.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing where you're an attacker, you don't think that that's going to happen, right? Because it's such an oddity, and that shock and surprise is why it works, right? It's a shock and awe sort of move. I mean, I don't know what to tell you if you're on the side of the attack, right? Are you kidding me? Snipey going back for seconds. The hungry boy wants that headshot. He won't find it. But Benji got a little bit of health taken off right there. He felt the aggressive wind going past him, but he will survive. You see Ampty starting to get into the guts here of this border site. Going to be the lead sort of figure in this. And nobody, I think, quite aware of just where Ampty is. So that's not a bad start. Unfortunately, the frag grenade will miss completely. So that's going to put the onus right back here on Ampty to try and get out of dodge. Now they've kind of given away the fact that they're deep in the site. Second frag grenade coming from below won't go anything either. Stern's got a relatively good drone setup though, and that provides a fair amount of intel. They're looking for a kill through a window. That's a bold positioning right there. And Benji's got the crossfire here too. I mean, it's not a bad setup, Stick, but they got to actually, you know, stick the landing.
Yeah, and nothing has really been able to reach the runway so far. It's still 5 versus 5. Okami with a nice chunk of resources. Haven't really seen much, you know, in the way of Okami coming at this one from a, you know, 5 versus 5 hard breach, get the wall open type of siege. Would really need to see that one here in round number 8, establish a bit of structure behind them. We saw Homeland get it done on their offensive side, really needing no hard breaching. They were in, got the gunfights, came in through the doors, and really stormed it all down. But a very quiet one. Okami needing a big play. Could be Ampty to make that one happen.
The tempo between the two sides is so different, like you were alluding to. Ampty, Okami, they're so much slower in this attack. Very slow pacing, trying to set up their angles. Ampty, by the way, slipping in right there, unnoticed by the gun of Snipey. 11-3 in this match, just waiting around the corner. The proverbial raid boss just moving now over towards the corridor. Ampty continuing to push up as carefully as possible. Gets the opening drop on Snipey. What a kill from Ampty. And that's the kind of thing that's going to keep hopes alive here. Ampty nearly finds another one. This player, the relative unknown, doing so much work right here to keep his team in it. Stern steps up, tries to repeat the performance. Ampty's already down, but Quinter's in on it, and everything on the back of Floose. They're talking trash earlier, but do they have the skills to pay the bills? Nino's going to go ahead and get the plant down right here and keep their team in the fight.
Floof is really going to have to dig himself out of this one. Thermite behind the cover, and Nino to deal the final blow. The headshot comes across the board, and wow, just nails the Aruni down there in the long game. But it's Okami to come to life, open the wall, get the bomb down, execute, shut up Homeland, and make sure that top main metal pressure was not able to materialize into any slowdown for him. Ampty continuing again and again to find those openings and to drive it home. Homeland to respond here around number 9.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now, Stick, where I almost feel like Ampty is kind of the engine here for these Okami attacks, and we can probably tell within the first, 30 seconds to a minute if Ampty dies, or basically if Ampty dies. I think we can basically say that the round is not going to go very far at all. I mean, I was talking about Snipey having 11 kills. Ampty's not far off. He's got 9 in the tank, and Quinter, doing okay as well, but the kill distribution not really as good as it is for that Homeland side. Still, I mean, I'll give Okami a little bit of credit here. They are battling, right? They are not just getting completely taken out here at the very start. They are making Homeland pay for this round, or potentially for this win. Taking a look, too, at the lineup for Okami, they're just running the same thing every time. So clearly they feel very comfortable with this setup. I hope that it pays dividends for them in the long run.
Well, as far as that Ampty conversation, it is something that I try to stay away from. As far as one player, is making everything happen. But, if the train is at the station, the locomotive needs to be there to really take it away. You're not getting far without the engine. Right. And so far has been Ampty. I feel like Quinter has been maybe more that comeback player that you've needed sometimes, who has been able to kind of jump in, find a crucial kill. Ampty has been everywhere that his team has needed him. Rival, does he hear the grenade pop? I think he does. He must have a pretty good headset. Feels like every time that grenade's coming for him, he is ready for it.
Yeah, it's the second time he slipped out of there. Slipped a little snake right there. It must be the headset. You're right, 100%. He's got the volume turned all the way up. That man's ears are bleeding after every match. But he knows when grenades are coming. That's what really matters. They're busting in now to this office CCTV area, so they're making good progress. Ampty again taking the lead, as we would expect, as Nino pushes in through the archives side. And there is a defender waiting in there, so going to have to be very cautious about how they approach this, but a good chunk of the map, and it's Ampty striking first again. This Iana has been so good here. Unfortunately, that's where the streak ends. I like that brief pause on the hole left by the Nitro Cell. Really drive that stake in there to all the Okami fans, and Rival drives his bullets right into the sternum of Stern.
Great start there by Rival. Nino on the response. The Therm having a bit of a slow game so far, but maybe finding his window to shine. It's Snipey to see one on up above, and woo! Looking like Raki getting chased away from the area. In the meanwhile, Snipey still holding back here from Canadian. Benji's gonna walk right into that one. Guess that must have been missed on the drone coverage. Opens up a crucial window, but Quinter is looking to do just the very same. Now has full information about the retreating Rival, but in the meanwhile, they've lost the sledge. It's Homeland back up in the driver's seat. Snipey's got the birdie, managed to cross his way back, and surely they're aware now of Nino's position. Just barely manages to miss the Mozzie out there towards Customs. Finally taken out. That'll be 15 kills from Snipey, putting this one ahead. It's match point here from Homeland.
Yeah, talk about an engine right there. Snipey making a good contest for changing their name to Thomas, because they are holding that together for this side. I mean, I don't want to detract, like you said, about about Empty. You don't want to detract for the rest of Homeland, but the kills are outsized, right? Like there's one guy getting an awful lot of this action, and unfortunately for Okami, I mean, they started off okay, but it just kind of went downhill. And I mean, it sounds so simplistic to say it, Stick, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's just a skill diff. I mean, it just is. You see some of the positions that the Okami folks take, you see the shots that they're making, and Homeland is hitting those shots. They're choosing the right positions. And every once in a while, Okami sort of cracks the seal, right? Ampty comes up and does a great job or what have you. But at the end of the day, Homeland's going to win, on average, more gunfights than Okami is, and that's just the kind of grim calculus that you have to have in these kind of matches.
Yeah, and I think one thing that does kind of rub me the wrong way so far as Okami, their flex has not really been able to work it out there. Just a few kills here or there, but I look to a player like Benji, who really was on a very talented roster when he was playing with people like Prompted and Flack all the way back in the Challenger League days. Kilo, another name to mention there as well. It's just not the level of performance, not the same player, really, I think, that's on the server today for Benji. Has not been able to find those openings, and maybe it does feel a bit like the meta has kind of passed him by.
I mean, it's possible. He's hardly the first player who will have suffered that kind of fate. Stern getting the opening kill right there, coming down deep in here, throwing down those air jabs as they go. Quinner wants to step up and take that castle barricade down, but justifiably being a little cautious about it, as you would. And I don't think Ampty realizes quite the situation they're in as Raki dives out of that position and runs back to cover. Snipey, though, finds Stern again. Snipey nearly picks up the 16th kill of the round. Ampty, though, right back in it. I mean, blow for blow. Benji finally getting in on the action, but Ampty cleaning it up one more time. A double kill here for the Ash player on this round, and basically all that is kept Homeland in it. They've just got to hunt down one more body, and Ampty finds the third. And Ampty puts the team on his back right there.
Really giving the other star player on the opposite side of the field a solid run for their money so far. Has been really a tough fight between these two. Okami not completely out of this one yet, but Snipey versus Ampty has been quite a show so far. I mean, either one of these players can turn up on a moment's notice, and a little bit of a tough start there for Stern. Good mid-round play by Benji. Managed to find an opening, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the switch for Ampty, getting on the Ash, really drove things home. Triple kill with the R4C. Hard to disagree with that one.
Yeah, it's just hard to disagree. It was really, really good. It's exactly what they needed. And I mean, we talked a lot about Snipey. We said Snipey's name an awful lot. Ampty nearly there again, blow for blow, really, between the two of them, the two big stars, I would say, of this matchup. Unfortunately, though, I mean, these kind of heroic performances are coming a little bit too late, I think, in the game, right? Like 4-6, you're sitting on match point. You're dancing on the razor's edge here, one bad round, one double kill nitro cell or something silly like that, and you're gone. You're just not coming back. And it's unfortunate. And you do kind of wonder, where was Ampty the first, let's say, 3 or 4 rounds, and it's not there when it was needed. Snipey swinging out, well, that's bold but misplaced on those shots, I'm afraid. Stick, nobody there.
Yep, Okami just playing that one a little reserved. Waited the minimum recommended time.
Ampty. No.
Snipey is really looking for some activity here.
He's hungry.
Oh, look at the reverse repel. I think they're aware of this one. Gonna get that window open. Snipey on the backup. I would not be expecting the twitch here. They'll get the drone in. Oh, but Snipey just manages to dart past. The reaction time not quick enough from the twitch to grab this warden.
Reflex test right there. Pure reflex test, like when they hit your hammer with a knee at the doctor to see how quick you can get on it. Snipey's still playing a good skirmishing game, though. Actually dropped back right there, but it's Quinner. Oh, he fired at the wrong target and got brought down for it, and that's absolutely tragic. Floof's here peeking the long angle as well, and it's not looking good. I've got a bad feeling in my stomach here for the side of Okami. Quinner and Stern already down. You get the feeling that this is maybe where Glory comes to die as Ampty gets wiped out by Snipey, and they're running back. They'll catch Nino looking, and that just leaves one. It's Benji, the former Challenger League player, trying to stay alive, trying to win big for his team, but this is a Herculean task that has been laid before him.
Benji already having a couple opportunities to step up into the clutch, but you do feel as though this is Okami finally seeing that razor's edge start to cut the skin. Benji looking for the aggressive move, but Homeland surely will be able to close this one out. It's Zez on the money, finally taking down that one, and Homeland, a bit of a slog, but a strong early game performance. They close it out here on Border 7-4. And are the team to move forward. Unfortunately, Okami, with that result, are eliminated from contention here in Season 7.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think it was those early rounds, that first three sort of commanding wins that came out of Homeland there, Stick, that really set things apart at that stage. And by the end of the things, when it was getting a little bit closer there at the end, they're just, like I said, there just wasn't enough room for error to allow for any sort of bad play. And I think, unfortunately for Okami, that was bad play in that last round. Too many mistakes made, too many early deaths. The things that had been plaguing them throughout this border all sort of added up. Homeland did good, right? Snipey did great, obviously, but the rest of the Homeland team, they pulled their weight here in this matchup, and they have to be very happy with this victory looking forward here in these quals.
Yep, solid performance by Homeland. I think kind of the story that we were expecting coming into this one. And, you know, for Border, it's a strong map in Homeland's pool. Okami gave them a good run for their money, but just lacked some of that coordination. The structure maybe needs a little bit of work, and just the coordination, being able to respond in some of those early kind of defensive showings was probably the biggest gap in their playbook. They had picked up another round, got that last one to tie the half. Could be a different game. Could be talking about overtime or maybe even an Okami victory right now, because, wow, Ampty really heated up. Some good performances from Quinner there as well. But at the end of the day, it was Floofs to put the rest of the squad over the line, 7-4, and will it be interesting to see how Homeland does perform with close qualifiers on the horizon.
Yeah, it's going to be a test for them, I think. The fact that they had that much challenge, right, dealing with Okami, I mean, it's the end of the day. You played a lot of games, right? Everybody's a little tired, but I don't know. They're going to need every inch of the confidence they were expressing in the chat there, Stick, to carry them through tomorrow, because I feel like it could be a rocky road when you start hitting some of those teams come the morning.
Yeah, there is a lot of road left. There is a lot of very challenging teams. This has been one of the most competitive seasons for SCS so far. And really, I mean, we wouldn't want anything best. It's been such a fun event so far, and we have just got more ready for you. We have the close qualifiers and the end of the road for our qualification process into SCS Season 7. Finalizing tomorrow. We'll see you when we get back. Korvac, has been great to get back with you on the mic here. Thanks to all the production folks behind the scene. But that's from all of us here at SFCL, saying so long tonight for the second day of our second qualifier.
On a double, though, and he finds a third through the smoke. Just enough. Getting it to 3K with 3 seconds left.